Look at almost any movie about ancient warfare, and you'll see the exact same thing. A swirling pit of mud and chaos, where men break formation to swing swords in a massive, disorganized brawl. But historical combat looked very different. It was calculated, highly organized, and ruthlessly systematic. As early states expanded outward to swallow up rival kingdoms and stretch across continents, their rulers ran into a logistical wall. The traditional system of calling up farmers to form a temporary citizen militia was no longer enough to hold massive hostile territories. To maintain control, the most successful commanders of the ancient world had to design something entirely new. They built specialized, full-time military units tailored to dominate very specific environments. Looking at Rome, Persia, and Han China reveals that military success was a result of cold calculation, creating soldiers tailored to overcome a specific, nearly impossible battlefield hurdle. In the 6th century BC, Cyrus the Great faced a geographic nightmare. The Achaemenid Empire he commanded was massive, stretching all the way from Central Asia to the edges of Europe and Africa. To hold it together, he needed a force capable of responding immediately to crush frequent, distant rebellions. His answer was a permanent standing army known as the Immortals. This was a dedicated corps of 10,000 elite troops, serving both as the personal royal guard and the core of the Persian military. In this stone relief, Persian commanders rejected heavy bronze armor to beat the intense Middle Eastern heat. Prioritizing speed over metal plating, they carried composite bows and large wicker shields. Behind that shield wall, they fought with short spears, allowing highly flexible maneuvers. But their real power was psychological. Under a strict protocol, whenever a soldier died or fell ill, another immediately stepped into his place. To the enemies facing them, the number of troops never dropped below 10,000, projecting the terrifying illusion of an unkillable, endlessly regenerating force. Centuries later, the Roman military faced a different problem. They needed to take ordinary citizens and turn them into a cohesive, standardized unit capable of breaking opposing armies that relied on heavier brute force. Looking at this column relief, you see the answer: soldiers working together in total synchronization to build a fortification. The Romans achieved this through a rigorous, highly structured training system that lasted months or even years. Overseen by veteran officers known as centurions, the curriculum was designed to suppress individual heroism entirely, replacing it with absolute, mechanical discipline. Physical conditioning was grueling. Recruits spent days at the polis, practicing thrusts with heavy wooden swords, building endurance and automatic muscle memory. This illustrates the result of that training: the testudo formation. Instead of fighting as individuals, legionaries locked their rectangular shields together. This overlapping defense created an impenetrable barrier against arrows, allowing the unit to advance as a single mobilized offensive platform. By forcing men to march 30 kilometers a day in full gear and fight as an interlocking defense, Rome forged a cohesive fighting unit. They suppressed the individual until only the formation remained, a wall of men conditioned to hold ground under stresses that would shatter a loose crowd. Meanwhile, the late Eastern Han Dynasty in China was fracturing into geopolitical chaos. The warlord Cao Cao found himself fighting a massive civil war across sprawling terrain, facing heavily armed rival armies and fast-moving nomadic horse archers. Standard infantry was far too slow to catch the nomads, and standard cavalry didn't have the defensive staying power to break armored lines. So Cao Cao built an elite, clan-led private army to solve the problem: the Tiger and Leopard cavalry. This force was divided into two highly specialized wings. The Leopard cavalry acted as the light unit. Wearing minimal armor and armed with bows, they were designed to execute rapid, long-range sorties, covering massive distances quickly to harass the enemy. The Tiger cavalry were the heavy shock troops. In this depiction, you see they were heavily protected. Riders wore thick scale armor and their horses had protective plating. Armed with lances and halberds, they were built to smash directly into infantry lines. Together, they executed a signature maneuver, the decapitation strike. On this tactical map, you see the cavalry bypass the main infantry engagement entirely. Using their speed and heavy momentum, they drive straight into the rear lines to target the enemy commander. This surgical tactic allowed Cao Cao to win decisively. By instantly removing the opposing commander, the cavalry shattered enemy morale and collapsed entire formations without needing to fight every single soldier on the field. Persia designed a rapid, ever-present royal guard to police a sprawling empire. Rome built a relentless infantry wall to grind down wilder foes. And Han China forged a surgical cavalry scalpel to end civil wars with a single strike. These three very different solutions point to a universal reality of ancient warfare. Managing a growing empire required rulers to stop relying on temporary militias and start viewing their soldiers as components in a highly organized system. The metal of a Roman sword or the wood of a Persian bow mattered less than the training that guided them. Ultimately, supremacy came from a system that dictated exactly how and why the human wielding that weapon would fight.